Global warming caused by the burning of fossil fuels is melting the polar ice caps, raising the sea levels, drowning entire island nations in the South Pacific, and threatening all life on Earth, including the human race, with extinction as the frozen methane hydrate gas in the Arctic melts and bursts out into the atmosphere.
Very nice, and I just want to see what you're doing. We are working on this 1 month project where we're traveling around the world to visit similar places. And I heard this from just a random hitchhiker in Spain about this place. And I thought I'd check it out and do some research maybe, and maybe see if it's the same. It's definitely what I think I'm covering anyways. And I'm just writing about the different effects of austerity politics throughout Europe and the world, because we have a kind of a similar tendency in my country. Yeah. But from what I understand, Britain has a different, much bigger history of squatting and organizing, community organizing, and so on. So it's very interesting. I want to just see.
Haven't seen you for a while.
The postman's here.
Yesterday morning we had postman, and we had someone, wanting to read the electricity in number 93.
So please get out, the new one of you can't lend a hand for the times they are changing.
Public property is handed off to private developers, and basically all the rest of us are left with nothing.
So this is when I came here before, there was all these families. This is austerity is a scam, a hoax, a fraud. This is real, isn't it? These people were evicted, bailiffs, children evicted.
Absolutely. I mean, there were 140 some homes here with people living in them until a few months ago, and it was within about a month after Annington got planning permission from Barnet Council that they started just kicking people out left, right, and centre. And if you couldn't afford market rents in Barnet, which is one of the more expensive places to live in London, then they're just shipping you out, chucking you out, throwing families left, right, and centre. Many up to Luton, most of them many out of Borough. Some of them told that if they didn't accept a place in Birmingham, they would be declaring themselves, they would be intentionally homeless. So yeah, this is the kind of situation that's been playing out here. Still lots of families involved in the campaign itself, still wanting to come back, not wanting to let go of this community, and wanting to fight to make sure that what's happening here doesn't become yet another precedent for the further gentrification of London and the further destruction of communities.
It's the most beautiful place ever, isn't it? It's stunning here.
Yeah. Well, and I think the message here is that, like poor and working people.
So what they're going to do? They're going to. So they've taken out all the social tenants from here, not-for-profit homes, and then what's going to be here?
About double the number of luxury flats, and we all know what that means. I mean, that probably means investment properties for people who don't actually need homes, but do know that investing in London property is the best way to make their money grow, and that's the whole dynamic going on here, is property as assets rather than property as places that people can live and be together as a community and raise families, and we need to take that back, because as long as we allow developments like this to take place unchallenged, then basically we're all screwed. It's only going to be a matter of time before everybody gets forced out of London.
This is David Cameron's home-owning democracy, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, who's gonna be able to own these homes? It's not going to be any of the people who've lived here before.
We've in this country we've got corporations running massive businesses where the maximum wage is the minimum wage, where you've got people on really poor crap money. Where are they supposed to live?
Well, there's nobody who's been able to answer that question. We keep asking that. Nobody's been able to answer that. There's just a sort of a sense that, you know, you can't afford to live in Barnet, you can't afford to live in Barnet. Tough, get out. And so it's like, I don't know who they think is going to be running the shops on the high street and working in the hospitals and all the rest of that. Because, I mean, even we've had people from the police department here tell us that they can't afford to hire local people anymore in Barnet, and that they need to hire people who live out in Hertfordshire somewhere who can afford to pay rent on police salaries. So, I mean, that gives you a bit of a sense of what's going on in Barnet at this point. But it's sort of a microcosm of London as a whole at the moment.
I mean, it's happening. I mean, I know down in Southwark, the Haygate, the Aylesbury. It's happening in all sorts of places, all across London, isn't it? Where the property developers are looking to. You know, even they even admitted the other day that there's criminals coming over, oligarchs and buying drug dealers buying properties. Yeah, and somehow that is deemed more valuable because it grows the economy than actually providing homes for people who live here and have families here and have communities here. And that's the kind of criminal thing that we need to challenge in whatever fundamental ways we can, because that logic taken to its natural ends will just mean an empty shell of a city filled with investment properties with nobody living in them. I mean, this is like in any long-term analysis, economic analysis even will tell you that this is not a sustainable approach, but it's so much get the money and run, like get rich quick kind of schemes with the London property market that are utterly destructive to people, those of us who actually live here and want to make homes here. Cool. I'm going to load that first. It's just so
I've gone online. Now it's 2 viewers. Crossfire
It'd be
of
good
cameras.
If Anna could give you a tour around and show you the house.
89 or 90.
Change this one. And how did you do that? So go on menu.
yeah, go to channel, go menu. You're one of the original tenants in here.
Yes.
And these good people have come along, and they're experienced.
Yeah, we have amazing people who are committed to do some good in the world. Not like politicians, unfortunately. So we're gonna learn as much as we can, and then we try to use it in a way we can to try and protect those houses.
So you're expecting the bailiffs come and...
Yeah. We're expecting the bailiffs, and we think that it's a huge crime to give this land for free to people who don't contribute anything to this country just for them to make profit. It's just not right. And the people need houses, and we are here to protect them.
And what are you going to do when you get up the tree?
I have no idea. Let's see if I can get down.
but you've been doing this down in a village near Heathrow.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So what? I mean, what? How does it work?
So it's important to you can have watchtowers, so people can be on watch. Also, it makes it very difficult for bailiffs or security to access. There's a climbing team that has to come in from Europe, adds a lot more money into affairs, so people might have to take a step back and actually be like, actually, you know, there's a lot going on here, we might have to think twice.
I mean, is it effective then? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's been very successful tree protests all around the world.
But what's happening down at Heathrow?
That's a separate matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
But is it work down there?
Yeah, it's definitely... definitely adds the X factor or whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
Been there for 5 years.
Been there for 5 years.
Been there for 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's desperate times when you think people are coming out like... look at that. I mean, that's really high.
It's a protected tree. Most of the
I mean, anything is worth it. Any risk is worth to save those houses, because we need houses. We need the working class people to live somewhere. And if you have a luxury apartment that buyers from overseas buying just as an investment, it doesn't work. The people saying there is a housing crisis, if you will take into account all of the houses that are luxury, empty properties, standing right there, and no one lives in them. There are enough houses for everyone. It's just, no one can afford to live in them.
I mean, we need to be building not-for-profit homes, don't we?
Yeah, that's correct. We need people to have homes, not investors to create places which is solely for profit. That's not right. because
but
otherwise
they're taking away social housing. They're knocking down. This is social housing. They're knocking it down.
I mean, it doesn't make a sense because they say, okay, they're gonna build double amount of sizes, double amount of properties. Yes, they will, but who's gonna live in there? No one. That's going to be investment for overseas investors. That's not
because they've got this phrase that they use, affordable housing.
That's not affordable. 80% of the market rate is like 90% of your wages, or minimum wage. And I think the people who are in charge, I think they just don't live on the right planet, because they earn enough. They have everything for free. They have, you know, lots of money going to the hotels, to the petrol they're using. So they don't know about normal life at all. They are born in the privileged families. They live privileged life, and they're trying to tell people, normal people, how to survive on £50 a week. And then they're complaining that they have to put a loads of money into the housing benefit, forgetting that they are the one that's creating this problem. Because if you have only private landlords,
I mean, the guy who owns this estate or this property, this land, he's going to turn into mock Tudors or penthouses. He registered in the Cayman Islands. He pays no tax.
He doesn't contribute anything to this country, and he doesn't own the land. He leases the land for nothing for the next 999 years. When MOD complaining about how poor the budget is for this year, yet they're giving away land which could be utilized in so many different ways, and they can actually have a profit from the land. Yet it's handled for free to people who don't contribute anything. So either there is something dodgy going on, or they're simply stupid to do that.
And also, I mean, every family bar one has been taken out of this estate, often quite violently by bailiffs and eviction processes.
And some of the families which were housed here by the Housing Association, they had to face the eviction cost and possession order, because people who were responsible for housing them just simply didn't care, because they could find a property for them long before the eviction notice came. So it could spare them another cost. Yet they
Did they come and put you out of your house?
Well, I get the emergency accommodation. So I had like 8 hours to move 3-bedroom house. I lost all of my white goods because I didn't have a time to actually plan what I'm gonna do with that. The flat which I get was fully furnished, so I couldn't take washing machine, fridge, freezer. All of that was left on the estate. And the most heartbreaking moment was when the guy from the agency came to pick up the key, and I was still moving my stuff, and the people from the Cytex start putting Cytex on it. And when you see that someone is actually covering your house, which you live for almost 6 years, with your belongings inside, it's just heartbreaking, because it's just horrible. It's just like...
It's a violence.
It's very, it's not right. I think they should at least wait until people move their stuff. Because it's very stressful, especially when you are with 2 kids and they seeing that. It shouldn't be like that. We have a 21st century. I mean, there are a million reasons or million ways to deal with, you know.
How's it impacted on the kids?
When the initial eviction notice came and I was supposed to move out, they were very, very stressed, and they were. My son was crying, and he was like very angry, not with me, but I was the one picking up the pieces. But to show people, to children to see, you know, how people are moved by bailiffs, and how government treating people who are hardworking people, moving them, is just heartbreaking, because they think, okay, something is not right. When I'm little, I want to change the world. Why the people who are not little anymore and they have a power to do something, just destroying everything and making life so difficult? Why is that? We're not living in, you know, there's so many ways that things could be better, and they just don't do it, simply because I don't know. I don't know why.
They'll be proud of you learning to climb the tree.
Oh yes, he will love that. Probably, I'm not gonna tell him because he's gonna kill me that I didn't bring him here. But yeah, he will love that. He will be very proud of me. Yeah. So yeah. Cool. They're gonna like, you know.
Fine,
I haven't had problems. I might climb in and start screaming to break the fire.
And this one goes to your foot. And just by starting, you just need to get your foot inside this one here and big step up. And it's literally just a matter of stepping.
the other.
Okay. That's it.
I'm really worried about this tree.
Yeah, it's really strong.
Okay.
That's it. So if you keep your leg underneath your wing, that's it. Yeah, really strong. That's
How I loosen up?
yeah. So if you
That's gonna hold, right?
yeah, that's it. So all your weight is now on that top pocket.
I'm doing that.
You can take it out. That's it. So now again, standing up. That's it. And if you can stand right up on that leg, it's amazing. You're doing so well.
Huh.
Try not to.
So I'm doing
So
that.
you're standing up now on that right leg. Really push up. Oh, that's it. That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Danny, can you just please stop?
You need David Attenborough in the corner.
That's it. And now that one hand. Push that. That's it. And now sit back down. That's it. You got it.
Doing that
You
one.
can take your foot out if that's helpful.
Hard drive, plug it in, because your machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we have open borders for Sweetstopia over the
Awesome.
weekend.
That's
Ready for refugees from the UK.
it. Step up.
Okay, you need a hand for that, alright?
Perfect.
Great, great. Now move that one out. Okay.
Alongside the last family. Because they're coming for the last family.
I find it quite hard.
It's just hands. Yeah. I like swinging though. Swinging is cool.
From the motorcycle guy?
I don't know, I think it was Anthony.
Anthony, okay. Talk to Anthony about it. Apparently he's got it.
Thank you.
Are you happy swinging around?
Yeah.
You gonna get one more?
I'm gonna go one.
She'll be happy.
I can't do one more. I need to rest. Okay, so just come down. Just move that leg loop.
She's our president, by the way.
I know.
The best president you would want. Very loving, very caring, very compassionate. Never has a bad word.
Keep him right close to you and your.
Why do you have
your
a
foot.
two ropes and I have one?
And to me.
Okay.
Like come down the rest of that thing and do it when you step in a tree. Even though it would be very funny. So it still needs to be so you
Watch that for the
put your
moment.
weight on it, so it needs to be a little bit higher. So you can just take.
If you want to change channels,
Oh,
if you want to change channels,
Yeah,
select and then select.
select.
yeah, no,
They're both on.
Alright, let's do that.
Both on one now.
So if you stop it, shift.
Right.
That guy's been handing out eviction notices on the street apparently. And
yeah, that's the challenge. Sometimes you can just get random bits.
Lift up quite high.
I will come back in a moment.
Great. Want it quite high up to your waist. That's the one. Yeah.
Over the hoops kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Going around to the back.
That's it, great. And now sitting back into that top knot, putting all the weight on the top rope. Great, that's it. Let go of the hand. So you can move the bottom of that. Put out if that's easier.
want to jump off.
You see how high it goes?
Yes.
Very good.
I got stuck on there.
Well,
That's why when I went camping, there was like this thing. It was the same like a tree, but it comes up like a rock.
Yeah, pretty good. We got cops over there, just as a.
Unless they try to danger our lives or something.
You think the police will tell them that?
Yeah, okay, take it easy.
Well, you never know. Wonder why they called them. Because someone's getting up the tree. I suppose that.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Don't accept any paperwork. Don't admit anything. Don't admit anything.
You'll come here.
I've got to put these notices on.
hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I've got to put these notices on the windows.
What window? You mean the tree?
Sorry?
Yeah, I do need to wipe my arse, actually. I do need to use the toilet. Can I have toilet paper, please?
Right.
Should we crack on?
Yeah, where are they? 76.
Over here. Over here. It means to release them.
Mark! Is Mark about? Give Mark a shout. Liam! Give Mark a shout.
Close the door.
You're going to have to arrest me for obstruction. You're going to have to arrest me for obstruction. Just saying, you're going to have to arrest me for obstruction.
Right, that's fine.
I'm going to do it anyway, nothing to do.
Well, that's right, yeah.
How do your children feel about you doing the job, mate?
Well, I provided with everything.
You provide them, yeah, so do we provide children as well.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
I'm sure you already are.
It's the wrong number.
This isn't a house. You're sticking it on the concrete.
It's the wrong number, man. That's a wall.
There's no one that lives in that wall. What's the point of sticking notice on the wall?
Wake up, mate.
Like,
Stop watching television. How much that watch cost?
No one
Is that a real
I just
Rolex?
want to tell we are 60 of us.
Is that a real Rolex?
And our number is all
Stick away, stick.
we have on the gaffer tape outside and we are always like screaming.
Stick a notice on concrete.
They're also getting in.
Dad?
Yeah.
I'll come back.
Please save us! G4S for the planet! Higher police wages now!
Number 80, 85.
Higher police wages now.
Don't privatize the
Higher
police!
police wages
Don't
now.
privatize the police!
Higher
Don't
police wages
privatize the
now.
police!
Abolish the police now. Police cuts now.
No, not this. Not this one.
He hasn't got to go.
Higher wages for the cleaners now.
Their clothes as well.
Yeah.
Your family is also going to be cleaned up from London too, mate.
They just want to have it.
Over here. Meaning cat.
Mr. Superior, yeah, I don't know what to do. I brought down the wrong kind of tape. I think I'm a numpty. Chucky on eye, yeah? Remember that. How does it feel to be kettled, mate? It's called kettling. Kettling, when you're getting surrounded in a protest, it's called kettling.
Oh, right. Okay.
Should I put a cup of tea? Should I put a kettle on? You want a cup of tea, mate? Do you want to
I'm
sit
right,
down and talk about it?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
You don't need a hug, do you? No. You need a hug,
You
mate.
need a hug. Can I give
You
you
need a bit of love.
Open your heart.
Nazis said
their job when they
the
murdered.
Nazis said they're doing their job too.
That justify it?
The Nazis said they're doing their jobs as well.
Sorry?
The Nazis said that. I'm just doing my job. That's what the Nazis said. How does it feel? You're part of the Third Reich. How does that feel?
Yeah.
That's right, I get my police.
Tell me, can you feel it?
Getting stronger by the hour.
Stronger by the hour.
Power!
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 Power! Power to the people! The people get the power! Tell me, can you feel it? It's getting stronger by the hour!
Stronger by the hour.
Children! Power!
Power!
Power! Power! Freedom fighter! Don't give up! Not yet! The phone.
Eight to nine. I've done that once. Yeah. 9 to 5. Yeah. Right, can you go around to
No. Yeah.
to read plan.
But they said it the first because what makes so much sense in the garden. Somebody speaks in the garden as well. So secretary, where you stop the
It's the wrong house. Is this 100% the wrong house, guys? 100% the wrong house.
Is this?
Police station, no?
Is it?
It's nice. Police training club.
Come on, there's people here. People living here, this house are occupied.
They're occupied. They're all occupied. You can't do it. It's illegal. What you're saying is illegal.
Two guys living here. One of them disabled. Do you want to evict them?
No, sorry.
There is no number on this
No, he's
house.
living on the fence. No, he's living. Oh, no, you're going to be some
Oh, the fence is already
Oh, you're evicting woodworms, man.
Section
This
144.
is not speaking English, so they
That's
don't
not
know.
legal. You're breaking the law. Yeah, that is not legal.
Section 144.
Yeah, this is very, very unstable. This is
Okay. We will bring the vote to the High Court. We will bring the vote to the High Court. The vote is arrested.
Selfie!
Come on, everybody!
Oh, that's physical abuse, mate. That's abuse, mate. Start.
Yay! ¿Cómo está?
¿Cómo estás? What?
Take it back. Wipe your ass with it. Blow your nose with it. I'd have a hay fever. Mate, I got it all. Excellent.
You're strengthening the planet, man. And people need to live in London. Full people.
The party!
It's a job, but you know, I think everybody can choose what job they can do. I don't sell any paper anymore.
All of his things in the Cayman Islands.
Come on!
Close the drawbridge! Close the drawbridge!
You've now declared war on us, mate. You're breaking the law. That's our borderlands. Yeah, you just stepped over the border.
We're an independent state called Sweetstopia.
UK is not a player.
It's a country where everybody wants to live in. You can join us.
Yeah, you stepped over the border. You need a passport. No, you're in the deep south now, mate. Oh, you're in dark territory now, mate.
You need a working visa.
Good job, mate. I know you didn't.
Look at our parliament, it's a joke! It takes one of you to step out and say, you know what?
This is 777. This is 777.
It's all people, so didn't push
777 have nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it.
777.
No, this is not like this, mate.
777.
No, you're going to drag me off and get done. You're going to drag me off and get arrested.
The wall will be...
You're going to drag me off and get arrested for like violent disorder, mate. Yeah, you're going to drag me off. Stop groping me, man.
Oh, where is the police in it, man? Hey!
777.
Your face will be everywhere.
You're assaulting people, mate. It's illegal.
I'm telling you. Even you get 4,000 pounds, your face has to be everywhere.
Where are you going? We only just begun. God, they gave up easily, didn't they? You cowards! Come back, you cowards!
No, I don't.
Okay.
I thought it was PC. Traffic cops says. Are they traffic cops? That's why they're in that uniform.
No.
Probably not. Oh, the candy house. The poor candy house is gone. The poor candy house. Candy house.
Cowards.
I tell you again, everybody just making his job. It's like you don't feel your problem somewhere. Everybody can say, oh, it's my job, sorry.
We had a graphic teacher, someone did it.
You choose to have the job and then you say, sorry, it's my job.
Not about the science and the law. It is also the law.
Really hurt, brother. Have a nice journey. Have a nice journey.
We'll never be divided. The people united. We'll never be divided.
Yes. I'm home. I'm the man.
Daddy. You were fine, mate.
Grab a hotel, Papa. Go back to get your donut. Grab a hotel, Papa. Get your donut and waffles.
What do you think about that?
I think it's threatening because bailiffs and police are, I think they mix together.
They're dogs. So as he tries to leap with something and it's pulling, so as he lets it off and
Is she
walks away.
scared if they turn up?
I won't actually be that scared.
What do you think about not living here anymore?
Really upsetting.
Where did they move you to?
Hendon Central.
Is that far?
If like you go on to Longland Drive, then then you turn up onto Mill Hill East, and there's like the.
So it's quite a way away, isn't it?
And then, yeah.
I mean, this is a beautiful place, isn't it?
Yeah, there's like.
I mean, what happened to all your mates and everything that used to live here?
One, I think once got sent to. I think once got sent to Luton. If the can I just?
Yeah, go on.
Can you film them moving and then?
What are you going to do? Chase them?
Yeah.
What do you think about all the people here that's helping you? Like Anna's learning to climb a tree because they want to
I'm climbing up a tree.
You've been climbing?
Yeah, but not now. After Anna.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, what are you going to say? What you've done in your school holidays? You was out resisting the police, resisting bailiffs.
Yeah.
I mean, it is quite, in the end, it's quite sad, isn't it?
I just got moved to in year 3.
Yeah, how's it going?
But I just got moved into year 3 and we...
Will you just, please?
My school's in Tottridge.
Okay.
How far is that?
You just come out and do 2-5 run and you'll see something saying Tottridge Lane.
Do you know what?
I mean, there's a lot of people around here that are like, that's an incredibly beautiful wall, isn't it? You know the wall that they painted?
Yeah, and Anna's climbing up a tree right now.
Anna's climbing up a tree right now.
No.
What do you think about the one, have you been inside the house that Anna's built? You know, with all the new floor?
That one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I think it's really good.
Go over and see your dad. I'm going to have a chat with your dad.
Who, me?
Det ska vara här så kan jag göra.
I mean, you can ask me questions about the class, but I don't want to be videoed, I don't mind.
I mean, it's quite like, it's incredible, isn't it, really, that they want to evict people and do away with the estate. And
I mean, such good houses as well. I mean, you've got 4 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, yeah. They just chuck you off to Bloomberg.
They've got beautiful, I mean, look at the trees, look at the landscape.
Take your weight out of it.
Ja, det man är så man
Take your weight out.
Can we do it in front of that autonomous sign or not?
Absolutely.
Have you noticed these other signs we've got here?
I've got about...
Mystery to me that we have greed in which we have agreed. It seems you have to want more than you need until you have it all. You won't be free. Society, you're crazy breed. Hope you're not lonely without me. Society, crazy in need. Hope you're not lonely without me.
So incredible here. I wish I could come. I'm going to get my family and we can move in.
Yeah, this
Come live there for free.
Yeah. While the kids are on summer holidays.
Yes, summer holiday.
This is a
An
summer.
open source project to create a country that you would like to live in.
We should make it like this.
Needs more people to stay here.
If the world lived like this, how much? What
We don't need governments to do this.
Oh, good morning.
That's a really good line to end it on, actually.
Next thing
We don't need governments, we just need communities.
If you bring
Oh, don't forget our secret shit. That's not for public consumption.
exists. They tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds.
Filming us!
Yeah, no, it's great.
Jeremy Corbyn, 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 Jeremy Corbyn,
Jeremy Corbyn,
Jeremy Corbyn, Jeremy Corbyn. Yeah.
Mickey Mouse.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Mickey Mouse.
Jeremy Corbyn now.
Santa Claus.
And he's a pig.
He's not. He's a good man. He's the best man in the Labour Party.
No, he's a
and he's
pig.
lead us to a great victory.
Andy Burnham.
Guys,
It's Kendall.
guys, he's a pig.
David Miliband.
Mike.
Stop participating, people. If you
David Cameron.
Ah, we don't like him.
Yeah, we don't like him. He's my famous. Just stupid ass in the whole. Yeah, how many people are watching?
Very famous. Much more famous than Jeremy Corbyn.
How much people are watching?
2.
How much? Yeah, I'm totally famous.
Just turn it on, so it takes a while until they catch on.
Hey,
back and you go-
I can super glue my tooth back in. Do that on a live stream if you want.
Jamie Corbyn.
That'd be worth
Jamie Corbyn.
Dan Cole.
Jamie Corbyn.
You're just so much.
So we have to put art
I was like, I didn't even ask no comment, but I was like, I didn't even know smoke bombs were illegal, you know? And they was like, they put it down as an explosive, and it's like, hang on a minute, that would be like saying a cigarette.
Like which kind of? Or the street poison? Yeah. Oh, the street, yeah.
There's three well,
8. A little last streaming.
I don't
The right-wing press. No, but I mean, if I mean, even for the Barnet local press, because if they hear about, because how many sites does Annington been around Barnet? Just there.
One in Mill Hill. They done the same in Mill Hill.
Sounds like sidetrack.
How did you do that?
I am Jeremy Corbyn.
No, I'm Jeremy Corbyn.
No, I'm Jeremy Corbyn.
I am Jeremy Corbyn. Who's Jeremy Corbyn?
I'm Jamie Corbyn.
I'm Corbyn.
Yeah, I brought my message.
But we can put them in the bedroom.
Sorry.
That's so fun. Try to explain that to you.
You really are yes, it is.
We have had people on there like how really involved.
I wish you'd been on my election campaign. I needed a cameraman like you.
Really?
Yes. It would, well, you know, because I'd have to take my own stills or ask people to take them of me and then send them to headquarters to prove I've been there. So it gets a bit difficult.
Right. Okay, so...
What's happening?
I just wanted to ask a little bit about where your previous project.
Which ones? You mean all of them?
Well, is it? I've forgotten how to pronounce it. Thanks for getting this on camera. Everyone's talking to you about this. Your old.
Oh, you're talking. Yes, you mean the Frestonia.
Frestonia. That's what
which was actually the No M11 Link campaign.
Right.
And this went on in the 90s. And a bit later, I need to check all my papers to recall, because it's a long enough time ago for me to have done quite a lot since. But I was there for the period, and I had about 6 different squads along the way, and we were broadly occupying streets, and in 3 areas we had Leighton, Leytonstone and Wanstead. And this motorway was going to smash through Wanstead's oldest resident, which was a chestnut tree of more than several hundred years old. And that was one of the first battles we fought, to prevent this tree being bulldozed. But they came in and bulldozed it, but we were there for 24 hours, held them up for 24 hours, and we insisted on keeping the stump of the tree as part of the local community from thereafter. And that was still there, as far as I know, until quite recently.
Right. Daniel, I'm going to ask Daniel to ask you a few questions.
Yes.
Because we spoke about doing this before. Oh,
yes. Okay.
Can you do some interviewing and ask about the related Sweetstopia?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just...
We got inspired by probably the Frestonia the most when we were thinking about this whole estate. So we were here with the mothers, and we thought about going next level to start sustainable. Plant seeds in the spring, so they can see that it's a long-term plan, and somehow get autonomous. So, and then somehow I saw in Vice magazine that this happened. Nick actually survived those days.
Oh, right, yes.
So,
and how long ago was that?
I don't know, it was like a year ago or something.
Ah, right, okay.
I don't know, Vice magazine came out with a new rethink of Frestonia. And,
Who did you speak to, or was it just looking at footage of it?
Yeah, we just looked at footage.
I see, right,
and
okay.
read stuff about it. And he is alive to tell some of these tales, and also the road block protests.
Indeed, oh right, yes.
So
Can you tell us perhaps about Dolly and Claremont Road?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that would be very interesting.
Well, Dolly was sometime actress, and she lived in number 1, I think I'm right in saying, Colville Road, and she'd been there, born there. And they built a scaffold tower on another of the properties in Claremont Road, and this tower rose, I would say, about another story and a bit above the 2 stories, so 2 stories above the house. I actually climbed to the top of it to experience what happened. The tower became called Dolly, after Dolly, this oldest resident. And the most terrible part of the story was that Dolly was strapped to a stretcher at 1:30 in the morning and taken from her home. And we were absolutely outraged by the cruelty and the cowardice of that act, taking her from her home of 93 years. And she was put into a home and lived for a few years after, I'm not quite sure how many. But anyway, that was Claremont Road, and we were actually closed in. Eventually they decided to evict the whole street. And they had a...
Very similar to this place.
Well, yes, they had a overhead walkway which was just suspended It was only a wire cage thing between the houses and the trees, and the railway, the tube line was just beyond that. But when they came to evict us, they had sent in riot police. They had a whole street of riot police, and they were underneath this walkway. But I found out that a cherry picker had been ordered to start cutting the wires from this walkway while people were on it. And so I found a road cone, one of these traffic cones, nearby. I was on a roof, and the press were corralled about 100 metres away. And I picked up this megaphone and shouted down it, "There are people cutting the wires on the walkway which people are on. If anybody comes to any harm, I will be suing them for murder." And I was really shouting this out, not as I'm speaking now. And fortunately, the press heard this and noted it. And after I'd finished speaking, the cherry picker came down, and the men stopped cutting the wires. So we had no deaths or injuries or even deaths. So that was just sheer luck. But if I hadn't done anything, it could have been a disaster. The chap at the end was called Old Mick, and he had a gallows up on his house, and he was going to commit suicide if they demolished his house. But what I must try to find for you, and I will do this evening, is a copy of the newspapers. I produced 4 editions of one newspaper, which I made myself and wrote, and people contributed. But it's got a lot of imagery of that campaign, which would be informative to you of how things were in those days. So you'll see the heritage.
What was it called?
Which, the newspaper?
Yes.
Was called EastEnders. And it had quite a, characteristic headline on it.
Can you tell us about some of the other famous people that were involved with the M11 campaign?
Famous in what sense? You mean like Dolly in the sense?
Well, Dolly was probably the best known, but maybe Greg Sams, Gregory Sams?
I'm very poor on names, I have to say that to you. Not that I'm sure I would have seen these people, not knowing their names, because there was a lot of people there. There were a lot of people there, and they kept coming from different areas.
Raga Woods, perhaps?
Raga Woods I know well, and she and I occasionally bump into each other quite by chance.
She runs the gingerbread charity.
That's right, yes, I believe so. Yes, she's a very dynamic woman. That's right. I'm just trying to think of some of the other names which are...
Is there anything else you'd like to say about the M11 campaign?
Well, I would like to say that it was a very important motorway anti-motorway campaign, because many of the people came up from the Twyford Down disaster, and that was you remember the ploughing the motorway through the chalk downs outside Winchester. And I went down there and spoke at a public meeting in the Guildhall to tell the people who had just been told that the campaign was now finished, because the people who were running it at that time had come to the end of the road insofar as the public inquiry was concerned. And I said I'd like to just correct that and inform the hall the campaign was only just beginning.
How do you feel about the fact that the idea of declaring independence in a local community has taken off now as a result of the road protests in the 90s?
Well, I can say that clearly ideas which have emerged from these campaigns have certainly caught on, and they are transmitted by the people who move on from them and don't disappear. They go on and find another campaign, and so they carry the message with them and don't let these messages die. So I would say the campaigns are very important for that reason. I would say also, however, that the history of motorway campaigns history was made in the battle against the Archway motorway, which took 20 years and 5 public inquiries, an historic battle. And that was the last battle that was won at the inquiry level. In other words, we won all the inquiries, all 5 inquiries were won, and the government had to abandon the scheme. So that was history in its making. But going along and in train with that were these other battles, the Newbury bypass one, of course, and the one I've mentioned, the Twyford Down battle, where the young people joined that and set up a group called the Dongers, which, as I recall, is a reference to the 2,000-year-old tracks in the hillside, which were still evident at the time. And so this young group of people called themselves after those tracks and set up camp on the down itself. And that battle itself went on for several years and ended up with High Court actions and several imprisonments. I was particularly surprised that these young, wonderful people who were putting their lives on the line agreed to go down and protest after a High Court action had been found against them. And they brought with them all their case numbers on big cards, which they held up to identify them, so that they could immediately be seen and proven to be breaking the law and were imprisoned. And I felt this was a terrible waste of their time. But I went to the men's prison in Islington and met somebody waiting in the room to meet some of these prisoners by appointment, and it turned out to be Carlo Ripa di Meana, who was the European Transport Minister at the time, and he was there to congratulate them on their stand. So I had a half an hour's conversation with him and was really impressed that at that stage the European Union, or one member of it anyway, was coming over and taking the trouble to find out what was going on in Britain, and in this case, a very worthy campaign, which made history in its own right, because it was the first one that carried on after the inquiry had been lost. That was the point I was trying to make, that the Archway motorway won by beating the inquiries, but the Twyford Down battle went on after the line orders had been approved, which is the
It's interesting that you mention that, because in this case we are reporting to the United Nations the human rights abuses that have occurred here at Sweets Way, and that's one of the reasons we have Sweetstopia, is to report back to the United Nations the abuses against women and children who were dragged out of their homes by their hair, screaming by the bailiffs, and the other human rights abuses that have occurred across Britain. And we're hoping that an inquiry by the United Nations Security Council might help to bring down the British government. So there is a direct connection between the campaigns that you've been involved in and what's happening here. And I thank you very much. I personally have to move on now, but thank you.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I wish, of course, everybody here every success, and who knows, you may actually win.
Thank you very much.
Pretty. Doing the usual drive arounds, come in.
So why is nobody going to talk to them? Were you all cowards?
We want to give them a clear sense of what to expect. I think Monday will be a really stressful day. I don't know if we should be filming this.